Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the TCMMA podcast. It's your boy Chris Cross checking in, and we got two things to accomplish today. Number one, we got to recap UFC Vegas 97 last night. Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. It went down. We'll get through that quickly, and then we're going to jump into fight-by-fight predictions for Dana White's Contender Series, including a late switch in the main event. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's get into it. Last night, you had some great fights. The final two both went to a decision. Jessica Andrade fell to Natalia Silva. Silva looked dominant in that fight, and then Sean Brady won, as I told you he would, against Gilbert Burns in absolute dominant fashion. So both Natalia Silva and Sean Brady looked great last night. But there were some finishes that we want to talk about. At number one, you had Matt Schnell and Cody Durden throwing down. And what a fight this was until it came to a dramatic finish. And Cody Durden, remember, took this fight on 4 days' notice. Let's get into it right now. Here we go, round two. Hopefully it's as good as round one. Matt Schnell, Cody Durden going at it in round one. Both guys throwing, trying to get the finish. Both guys sweating big time. You can see a lot of energy exerted in the first round. How will that play out if it goes 3 rounds? A nice left by Durden. Matt Schnell comes in. Cody Durden looking to get underneath here. Look at this. Oh, he's got it. He's got it. Oh, he's got it. Yes. Tap. What? Matt Schnell just came in with his head down. Cody Durden, boom. Boom, baby. And sometimes you take a fight on short notice is better for you. And it pays off here. Bantamweight division. Big win for Cody Durden at UFC Vegas 97. Yeah, so Cody Durden comes in on short notice and gets the job done. Highly, highly impressive. And he got a new contract before. So, he's just coming in pumped up. Not a lot of stress. A guy like Matt Schnell, like any other fighters, stressing the fight for weeks. In the lead up, Durden steps in on 4 days notice. No stress. Feeling good. New contract. And it pays off. And that's why we went with him in the prediction, because I just felt like he was going to come in with no stress and just let loose. And that's what happened. So, big win for him. Another big win or finish, which there were several. Actually, we're going to get to Matt Schnell, but let's look at the Rongzu Chris Padilla reaction. A little controversy in this one, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we play the clip. But Rongzu thought there was an eye poke, but instead it was an elbow, and this is how this one came to a finish. Rongzu just trying to buy some time after the elbow. And he thought it was an eye poke. But after seeing the replay in slow motion, I like how the UFC added that now. It was clearly an elbow by Padilla. And that left eye for Rongzu is becoming a problem. Yep, and the ref does stop it now. Here comes the doctor. Oh, boy. And he's going to be mad because he doesn't know, and he punches the cage. Yeah, he's not happy about it. He still believes he got poked. But instead it was an elbow, which he never saw coming. Wow. Oh, yeah, dude, they're stopping this. Unbelievable. Yeah, they're stopping this fight. It's not official yet, but yeah, that's it. And they call it off. And Rongzu throws his mouthpiece. He's pissed. But he'll see on the replay. What actually happened. And that's it. Chris Padilla landed a clean elbow. And eventually the doctor comes in and stops the fight. So Chris Padilla gets the win here. And it's a big one, ladies and gentlemen. That was a big one. And he'll move to 15-6 here. TKO, doctor stoppage. Lightweight division. Always exciting. UFC Vegas 97. what ended up happening is the elbow came in so quick, Rongzhu never saw it, and to him it felt like an eye poke. And eventually it puffed up, and the doctor came in and had to shut the fight down. And that's the way that one finishes. So you went on a string of finishes last night, including a fight between Steve Garcia and Kyle Nelson, which it looked like early Kyle Nelson had the advantage until you get into round number 2. Steve Garcia really pounded away now with the elbow. And what a turn of events here. Kyle Nelson trying to get back to his feet. Takes a couple hammers, another one. And Garcia's pounding away. Kyle Nelson holding off for right now, but the referee's warning him. Saying, hey, you got to show something. Now it's Steve Garcia back on his feet. Kyle Nelson on his back. Trying to defend with the legs. And we'll see if Garcia lets him up. No, he's going to come in. Now he takes the back. Kyle Nelson covering up. Now he's spinning. And Garcia's all over him. It's only going to take 4 or 5 in a row to finish this thing. The ref is all over it. Kyle Nelson holding on. And he lands a big elbow. Now he's pounding away. The ref's really looking at it. He calls it. Mark Smith calls it. And Steve Garcia with an unbelievable finish, man. Unbelievable finish over Kyle Nelson. He's going to move to 17-5 here, featherweight division. And he dominated 30-1 in significant strikes. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable win for Steve Garcia. And he looks exhausted. It's only the first round. That's the way it goes. UFC Vegas 97. Yeah, so there were some finishes last night. It took a little while to get the last 2 fights done because you're looking at 8 rounds. Both go to a decision. But all in all, a good night. And we were hoping this thing would get over quickly because we wanted to get to some football. By the time this ended, Colorado was down 28-0. Deion Sanders and the boys fell last night badly. But nonetheless, we got through this event. UFC Vegas 97. Here's what it looked like, 8-4 on the night. Big win with Sean Brady moves us to 18-12 in the main event. And you see we jumped out to 4-0 on the night. That really helped because I knew down the stretch it was going to be tough. 3-3 over the final 6. But yeah, 18-12 in the main event, 8-4 on the night, 223 and 142. So now we're plus 81 in the win column. And that was our goal, is to get over 80 this week. And that's what happened. Now the Contender Series is building as we shift gears into Tuesday night. Just kind of looking real quick, we got 4 middleweights already in. Wow. So middleweight division is up. The bantamweight division has 4 fighters in. Cody Haddon, Romeus, Wellmaker, saw killed, who got in last week. You got the featherweight division with 3. So that's kind of how this thing is looking right now. So it's middleweight and bantamweight leading the way with 4 signees. You did have one woman get in last week, Unessi Duben, who actually, what we're hearing is that the UFC, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what the articles are saying, is that the UFC had to help her get groceries. I mean, she was in a rough situation and then came in and got the finish. And I know Dana White was happy to give her the contract. You know, what a story there. And this is what happens in the Contender Series. You have people fighting and doing whatever they got to do to make it happen, to get into the UFC. And you got a woman coming in and can barely get here, barely gets to the fight, needs help with groceries. The UFC obliges, and it paid off in one of the biggest upsets in Contender Series history in terms of the odds. I mean, she was a huge, huge underdog. Huge underdog. But we knew there would be women getting into the UFC. We just needed some fights, and we finally got it. And, you know, now we should see more down the stretch. Now, as we jump into Contender Series Week 5, you already got, 17 UFC contracts given out. We're not even at the midway point. So as we jump into Week 5, in the first fight, you got Corrine Lafren-Boyce versus Nicole Kalari. So another opportunity for another woman to get into the UFC. I'm saying whoever wins this fight's getting in because there's a lot of room to be filled. But Lafren-Boyce 8-4, Cagliari 7-2. So let's get into it right now. In the women's flyweight division at Dana White's Contender Series, you got Corrine Laframboise, or Bose, one of the two, taking on Nicole Cagliari. So two newcomers, obviously. Corrine Laframboise is 8-4. Cagliari 7-2. This is Canada versus Brazil. Corrine 2 inches taller, 5'5". Don't know her age. We know Cagliari's 27. Perfect, right? You know, beginning of the prime window, perfect timing for a fight like this. Corrine's got a 2-inch reach advantage, 64-62. Now Corrine, again, fighting out of or from Montreal, Canada. In the 8 wins, 2 KOs, 4 submissions, 2 decisions. Has 4 losses, 2 by KO, 1 by submission, 1 by decision. Her last loss, though, was at UAE Warriors against Manon Fiorot. 3rd round KO, so she went a couple of rounds. Also losing to Jamie Lynn Horth. So these are people we've heard of. So that's a big deal since 2019. She's beaten all the other fights, 5 to be exact, lost to 2 UFC caliber fighters. Now to Brazilian Cagliari. She's coming off 3 straight wins, all by finish. She was submitted back at Invicta FC 37 in 2019 by who? Kay Hansen, a UFC fighter. So this is going to be interesting. And what Dana White's seeing here is that, hey, they lost to UFC fighters, but they've won ever since. So how do you make a decision here? Well, to me, it's very close. They both have some wins at a decent promotion, like LFA or Invicta, right? So you have that. But I got to go with Cagliari because if it's close, I go with the Brazilian if I don't find an angle. And a lot of times at the Contender Series here, the angle is very tough because we don't have common opponents, or we're looking for something like in this case where they've lost. Their losses are against UFC fighters. That helps the cause, right? Because, I mean, you lost, but you got experience in doing so, and you still got solid records. But 4 losses for Corrine is a problem, even though she's winning lately. I like Cagliari, the Brazilian, to get the job done here, to move to 8-2. And because the UFC needs women fighters out of the Contender Series, I don't think a decision will hurt. But the Brazilian will be better off getting a submission if she can pull it off. I think she will, to move to 8-2, get in the UFC with a contract. Women's flyweight division, Dana White's Contender Series. Yeah, so I mean, this has become custom over the last several months. I've just made a decision when fights are close, I'm going with the Brazilian because I'm tired of not picking the Brazilian and losing. And it just seems that if it's very close, which this fight seems to be, go with the Brazilian. And I'd say 7 times out of 10, you're going to be right. So we'll take Cagliari here to move to 8-2, but a finish will be more helpful, but I believe she's getting in just with a win. Now, as we push forward, bantamweight division, you got Mousasi 7-0 versus Tanzalovi 9-0. So you got 2 undefeated fighters coming in here with ambitions to get into the UFC. So let's break this fight down right now. In the featherweight division at Dana White's Contender Series, you got Josias Mousasi taking on Otari Tanzalovi. Let's get into this one. This is a division that signed 1 or 2 fighters so far, but check this out. Both guys undefeated. Mousasi 7-0, Tanzalovi 9-0. This is the Congo, Republic of Congo, taking on Georgia, and not the city, or the state, but the country, Georgia. Mousasi 5'8". Don't know anything about Tanzalovi in that department. Tanzalovi looks like he's moving up from bantamweight to featherweight for this one, so keep that in mind. Tanzalovi's 26, Mousasi 24. And early on in the card, we don't get a lot of information on these guys. Looks like Mousasi is 5'8", so you got, yeah, we already knew that, so that doesn't help. In his 7 wins, 7 KOs. Looks like a big guy, man, for this weight class. Winning an Impact Championship over Marvin Malunes by KO in his last fight. African KO, or AKO 3. Against Sabre by TKO. I mean, these are all finishes. Only 1 fight was in the 2nd round. So this guy is finishing people in the first. Look out. Now, Tanzalovi, in 9 wins, 7 KOs, 2 decisions. So this is a guy that can get KOs too. Interesting. In his last fight, he went to a decision at Octagon Promotion. For that at UAE Warriors, which is a tough promotion. You got the TKO. Man, this is going to be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. And it's hard to say. I mean, both guys are coming in. It's okay, so who's going to get the KO? And Tanza Love is looking good so far. Both guys are looking good. It's just going to come down to who's going to get the KO. I'm going to lean towards Mousasi. Here's why. I'm seeing that Tanza Love's weight is mainly 135. So he's moving up to featherweight, a little more power. Now, he'll have the speed. And Mousasi's got to be ready for that in the first round. But if he can get through that, take care of business. I like the fact that he's just finishing people quickly. So I look for Mousasi to get the win here in a very, very tough fight. Georgians are no joke, but either are those from the Congo. So I'll take Mousasi here to get the win by KO to move to 8-0, featherweight division, Dana White's Contender Series. Yeah, so I mean, listen, it's always going to be tough to make a prediction when you're dealing with two undefeated fighters like you are here. But the fact that Mousasi is finishing guys very quickly tells me that he has an edge and he's going to go for it. It should be a wild first round, and hopefully, someone falls in the first round, because then that guarantees a contract. And, you don't want to necessarily see a guy get beat like that, although it's exciting. You want to see a great fight. But at this level, finishes pretty much guarantee you to get a contract. So we'll take Mousasi. Now, as we jump into fight number 3, working our way up quickly, you got Iwasaki, 9-1 from Japan, taking on Belguari from the Netherlands. So this is another exciting fight. Two guys with solid records. How good is Iwasaki, though? That's a question I have. Let's get into it. In the middleweight division at Dana White's Contender Series, you got Taiga Iwasaki taking on Yausri Belguari. If I said that right, now I've heard that name before. So you might have been in the Contender Series last year. We'll see. Again, middleweight division fight. Iwasaki is 9-1. His opponent, Belguari, 7-3. This is Japan versus the Netherlands. I like it. Now, Yausri is 4 inches taller at 6'5". He's 32. Iwasaki, 27. Yausri's got a 79-inch reach. He fights right-handed. He landed 2.2 significant strikes per minute in his last fight. Now, Iwasaki, again, from Japan, 9 wins, 4 KO, 2 submission, 3 decisions. Lost once by submission, and this came back in 2022. He had one other fight where he won by decision at Shuto, aka Professional Shuto, 2 of the last 3 fights. So very small promotion. Now, Yausri, in his 7 wins, 5 KOs, 2 decisions, he has lost 3 by decision to Marco Tulio. Okay, we know who that is now. That was by unanimous decision. Muhammad Asili back in 2022. This is at UAE Warriors by decision. So, he had the loss to Marco Tulio last year at the Contender Series. Marco Tulio is now in the UFC. I believe he won the previous week, 2 weeks before this fight. And then this guy has come back and won 2 in a row. So, man, this is a tough one. I just don't like the fact that Iwasaki's losing at a small promotion, even though he has just 1 loss. He's won 90%, and I'm getting on him for losing 1. But at the same time, I got to go with Yausri in this one. He's got the experience in this setting. He knows what it's going to take this time. He's got to get the win. He can't let it go to a decision and let the judges make the determination. And it's a middleweight division fight. We've had some middleweights already signed. Got no choice but to get the finish, Yausri. So I'm banking on him. I'm banking on the Netherlands to get this win by KO. In my opinion, he'll do that to move to 8-3. So the numbers are out the window in this one. Yausri wins and gets in. Middleweight division, Dana White's Contender Series. Got to go with the giant. Yausri is 6'5" at middleweight. This guy is huge. So he's going to be a little lanky, a little light looking because he's tall. But he's going to be punching downward. He's got a long reach. And he's got the experience at the Contender Series. So it may not go his way because Iwasaki's 9-1. But at the same time, I think the experience will pay off in this one. Now, as we jump up into fight number 2, you got Otani, 12-3, Brazilian. Oh boy, taking on undefeated 6-0 Cody Steele, American, welterweight division. Oh yes, things are heating up. Let's get into this one right now. In the middleweight division at Dana White's Contender Series, your co-main event, Week 5, you got Kwamel Otani taking on Cody Steele. Now, Otani's 12-3. He's Brazilian. Steele, 6-0, American. So here we go. One guy with more fights, one guy with less, but he's undefeated. So let's get into it. Otani, 3 inches taller at 6 feet. He's 31. Steele's 29. So both guys right in the prime window as far as age, but haven't reached their peak yet at the same time. So Otani, the Brazilian, 12 wins, 8 KOs, 3 submissions. He's well-rounded. In the 3 losses, he lost one each way, one by KO, one by submission. So let me look at those losses. He lost to Wilker Lemos, is his last loss in 2019, and that was by submission at Jungle Fight. And he lost to Kleber Souza by TKO. That was in 2018. So since then, he's only fought 5 times and hasn't fought since beating Jose Diaz in May of 2022. So you're looking at 2 years outside the octagon. How much will that matter? Now, the American in 6 wins, 3 KOs, 1 submission, 2 decisions. Fighting at a Fury Fighting Championship. Won his last fight against Alejandro Martinez by TKO. He's fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times since 2022. So, I mean, he's fought 5 times since the last time his opponent has fought. That's a big deal. So what has Otani been doing? Was he injured? Who knows? Why has he not been in action? I got no choice but to go with Cody Steele. I mean, he's young, on the rise. Otani's going to present multiple problems as far as takedowns, and Steele's going to have to defend takedowns, but he's been more active, and to me that makes a big difference in this fight. I like Steele to get the win because of the activity. Got no choice. In my opinion, he moves to 7-0, but it goes to a decision here. Middleweight division. Dana White's Contender Series. Yeah, so this one's simple. We're banking on the octagon rust of Otani, who is impressive, 12-3, right? I mean, certainly capable of winning, but when you're not fighting that much over the last 2 years, it makes it tough to go with you. And we don't usually go against a Brazilian when it's close. But activity for Cody Steele, and he's undefeated. We'd like the American to get this one done and get into the UFC. Now, in your final fight, light heavyweight division main event, we have a newcomer in Navajo Stirling taking on Phil Latu. Latu was already in this thing, but his opponent had to pull out, so Stirling comes in on late notice. He's undefeated at 4-0, and it definitely makes things very interesting here because you're just 4-0. So does that mean Latu has the advantage? I mean, he has lost once. This video hasn't even been posted yet because it just got announced. So let's get into it right now. In the light heavyweight division at Dana White's Contender Series, got a newcomer taking a fight on late notice. Is Navajo Stirling. He comes in at 4-0. Phil Latu still in the main event. He comes in at 6-1. So Stirling's going to be 1 inch taller at 6'4". Both of these guys really tall, right? Stirling 26 years old, Latu 33. So Latu's just 7 fights in and he's already 33 years old. So, he's got to make a move quickly. Stirling 4-inch reach advantage, 83-79. Both guys stand right-handed. Now, Stirling is the #1 light heavyweight in all of Australia. That's important, right? He's won his last 3 fights by KO, fighting at a Hex Fight Series. On the other hand, Phil Latu, in his 6 wins, he's got 6 KOs. He was submitted once, but that shouldn't be a problem in this fight. He goes by the doctor. Recently, he's been fighting at a Cage Fury Fight Championships. Over the last 2, he's also fought in Fury Fighting Championship. So he beat Dylan Potter, a guy we've heard of, by TKO, and Justice Faiu by KO in his last 2 fights. Highly intriguing fight here. No odds in this fight yet, which makes it even more intriguing in the prediction because we have no angle to look at further. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I'm concerned that Stirling's coming in on late notice. We saw what Cody Durden did just yesterday. And you take a fight on late notice and you don't have all the stress of the build-up, and you're training anyway, but now you don't have the stress over weeks and weeks and weeks waiting for the fight to get here, and that could favor Stirling. But I'm still going to lean towards Phil Latu. The American, I mean, he's only lost by submission. I don't think Stirling's is going to be a problem in that area. They're both going to try to KO each other, and someone's going down in this fight, and I got to hope it's Stirling. I believe he's going to lose by KO to fall to 4-1. Latu gets the KO victory to move to 7-1, and he's marching into the UFC. In my opinion here, light heavyweight division, Dana White's Contender Series. Yeah, so, a close fight here. I just don't think that uh, the New Zealander, Sterling, has enough fights. Yeah, he might be the number one light heavyweight in Australia, but there's not a lot of light heavyweights in Australia to begin with. Phil Latu, if he gets the finish, he'll get in, but he's got to shore up his takedown defense and ground game, or else he's not going to fare well in the UFC. So this will be a very close fight, but we got to go with Phil Latu, because this isn't going to be a ground game fight. These both guys are strikers that'll, fall right into Latu's game plan, and he should get the victory. Now, it should be stated, I believe the over-under on this card is probably 3.5 contracts. Likely to give 3. If it's a great night, then we might give 4. But because the UFC gave 5 last week, to me, they're going to give 3 at some point. And when it's an off night, there's only going to be 3 contracts. So everybody on this card needs to get finishes if they want to guarantee a spot in the UFC. If not, you're on the bubble. That's the bottom line. So that's going to do it. That's Dana White's Contender Series. Week 5 should be an interesting one. After this, we're halfway through and marching forward. But for now, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. As always, peace.